You're trying to control your table and run your game, but the problem is that everyone is talking over each other, no one's giving anyone any kind of respect, and you just don't know when or how to move the story forward because the players are doing all kinds of weird and wonderful things and they're doing stuff and everything's just happening and I don't know how to handle my table. What do I do? This is what you do. Hello and welcome to today's episode. My name is Guy and we're going to be looking at control. It's your table, own it. What are you responsible for? Part of the Game Master's pillars or structures that make up a Game Master's responsibilities is control. You have control over, again, in my opinion, three aspects. You have control over the players, you have control over consequences, and you have control over events. Now, what kind of control do I mean? When it comes to control over players, we are not talking about control over what the player characters do. We're talking about giving each player equal time, opportunity, and attention. A bad GM is a GM who forgets that they have players at the table, who does not control the player sequence. It is very important for you to learn right at the beginning of your Game Mastering career, or to now add it to your toolbox if you have been GMing for a long time, to control your players in terms of giving them equal opportunity. And that can sometimes literally work around the table methodically every single time the characters are doing something. If they're talking amongst themselves, that's absolutely fine. But the moment something starts to happen where input starts to become energetic, or it starts to become dramatic or almost timeous, you then have to slow the game down, because some characters and some players are going to be coming up with solutions a lot faster than others, and you need to make sure that everybody has equal time, opportunity, and attention. However, you are responsible and in complete control of consequence. A lot of young GMs don't give consequences. They're afraid to give consequences, and as a result, they end up with murder hobos. We don't like murder hobos, do we? Well, some parties do, and that's fine, but most of us don't. So, if you are in control of the consequences, it means that if the consequences do not happen, it is your fault. You are the one to blame. The PCs are never responsible for the consequences. They are responsible for their actions and their actions alone. If the characters break into a jailhouse and free prisoners, there should be consequences other than just guards trying to protect those prisoners. The king should send bounty hunters after the party. There should be a reward for their recapture. There should be all kinds of things going on. There should be consequences. You are in control of those consequences, so make sure that you provide consequences for the actions that the players are taking. They are in control of their actions, not you. And then finally, you trigger events, not the players. You are in control of events, not the players. Now, this boils down to story. The characters, the players create the story. You create the events, or plot, as we like to call it. So, as things are happening, you choose when and when not to trigger stuff. The players are trying to sneak into the castle. You choose whether to trigger a guard to walk past that corridor and see the players' characters or not. It is your choice. No, it doesn't matter what you think, you're in control. And as a result, if you want that guard to walk past to give some tension, the guard walks past. If you don't want the guard to walk past, the guard doesn't have to walk past. How do you know, though, which is the right call to make? Should the guard walk past? You've plotted that there are guards in the castle. You've plotted that they follow a continuous line of patrol backwards and forwards. Are you a slave to that plan that you have come up with? Guards could not come forward for a whole bunch of reasons. Maybe the guard gets halfway down their patrol route, decides they want to have a cigarette, so they stop and light up a cigarette. That prevents them from going down the corridor. Alternatively, they walk down the corridor slightly faster than before because they know on their return they can stop at the guard room and get a cup of cocoa. It doesn't matter. You're in control. You choose when things trigger. Trigger because of consequences of what the players have decided to do. It's a very, very important thing to bear in mind that respect has to be mutual. The players have to respect that you are responsible for consequences and that you are also responsible for triggering events, and you have to be responsible for letting the players do whatever it is that they want to do and provide consequences and trigger events as a result of what they are doing. It's a glorious circle, it's a glorious loop, and once you figure out that, it becomes a lot easier to game master. You don't have to plan a whole bunch of stuff, you just have to plan a whole bunch of events and look at what will trigger those events. The dice, by the way, those dice, those wonderful, wonderful things that we love rolling and collecting and doing all sorts of strange and wonderful things with, those dice are never in control. However, they should offer you event opportunities. And what I mean by that is quite literally roll the dice, see what the numbers are, and figure out what kind of opportunity for an event to be triggered could possibly result from that die number. It then gives you, again, you are in control, you are the game master. If the die would indicate that the guard would see the characters, you could trigger that at that exact moment there is a bird that flies past the window, which causes the guard to then go, huh? And rather look in that direction where that roll that he just made allows him to see the bird, not to necessarily see the players. That's a very, 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 very difficult event to trigger because it does feel like you're protecting the players. If the players have made bad choices and they haven't got anyone who's busy watching out for the guard should see the players. On the other hand, if the players have put actions into effect which could cause the guard, such as, say, for example, putting breadcrumbs on that window, then the bird should arrive and distract the guard. It should be a reward for the characters having done something. It should be that mutual respect of them doing story, you doing triggering events. Your events should trigger as a result of what the characters have done. That's the bottom line. If you can take that home tonight and use it in your game, you are going to be a better game master for it. Until next week, I wish you and yours the very happiest of playing. I have to say that these wonderful patrons have made this video possible, and I can only say that I'm truly, truly appreciative for them. Now, I hope that you have joined our Twitter feed. That is a community of nearly 7,000 people who are like-minded and want to know more. Our Twitter feed often contains questions about rules, it contains answers, it contains musings, it contains sometimes amusing things, but generally speaking, our Twitter is a great place to find the channel and to get news and updates on what's happening on the channel, as well as our live shows, where you can join me every Sunday at 7 p.m. GMT for Game Master Sessions, live sessions with the GM, it's called, and I will answer as best I can any of your questions live. So join me for that. That's on this YouTube channel, as well as on our Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/GreatGM.